Now Peter Curran visits one of the more remote tribes of science at the Isaac Newton Institute for Mathematics in Cambridge.
Hello, I'm Christine West. I'm the administrator here at the Institute. You get the sort of boffin image, I suppose, with the mad hair and things like this. You do get those. Some of them wear shorts at any time of the day or night and year. T-shirts inside out. Same T-shirt for 6 months inside out even. It sometimes depends on whether the wife's here with them or family, partner, whatever's here with them as well.
How are you? Peter Curran.
Thank you very
Nice
much
to meet
for
you.
coming up.
Oh, listen, my pleasure.
Yeah, good. Well, I hope you enjoy the visit, actually.
It's a wonderfully stylish but understated exterior you have to the Institute.
Exactly so. I mean, it's a bit like the TARDIS, if you're a Doctor Who fan.
Yeah.
It contrasts a bit with the other buildings, as they look fantastic on the outside. I'm not sure I should say this. I'm not sure they're quite as efficient in the. Sorry, that's the start of a talk here. So maybe probably just as well it drowned out what I was about to say.
No, it wasn't a call to mathematical prayer of some kind, or incantation of algebra.
Well, I mean, you have to. It's up to you to interpret what goes on in there. But I don't think people think of it in terms of prayer. But it is a great form of absorption, that's for sure.
Would you mind just taking us on a walk then?
No, we'll do that.
Wonderful.
We'll do that.
Excellent.
Yeah, this is kind of strange.
Why it is strange? It is this piece which is strange?
No, I mean, not that the piece itself is strange, but it's strange.
This is a haven for some of the world's finest mathematical minds. A sanctuary of white walls and blonde wood, where by invitation only, mathematicians come to stay and to contemplate and illuminate mathematical truth. It's open 24 hours a day, and even in this so-called relaxation area with a coffee bar, there are blackboards with mathematical algebraic formula all over them, although that one has rather worryingly, after all that work, got a little sign saying, please erase on the bottom of it. I'm told that even the lifts and toilets in this place have chalkboards just in case inspiration strikes unexpectedly.
So then what do you define? You define some space of functions here?
Yes, you take characteristic function of this and you do write induction and function.
And you do it for...
You have to be motivated to do this. I mean, math is never a 9-to-5 job. You know, it's in your head. You're doing it when you're sitting on the loo, frequently when you wake up in the middle of the night. So you can't help but be interested in it as a subject.
I suppose it's interesting to hear you say that about that it's 24 hours a day, that you're...
But it doesn't feel like work unless you're under other pressures. Right? If you're under other pressures to do all the other, let's call it slightly more routine things, even though there can be lots of satisfaction in teaching, then it can be quite frustrating. But doing research, you know, when you're into it, hours pass.
And is doing research a mixture of work and relaxation almost, if it's all consuming like that?
Yes.
Gerhard, I presume?
Yep.
How are you doing? Nice to meet you.
Peter.
Meinhold?
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Tell us what you do here.
What do we do here? Well, we do research in mathematics.
It's much more complex than that, isn't it?
Well, so you mean you want to know some mathematical things, or is it in much broader terms? Or
Well, it does get to the dilemma. I know that we're, in terms of mathematical research, we're right at the top of the mountain. If you can talk down through the clouds at us mere mortals here looking up at you as you do your research.
the broad area is what is called Lie theory. So Lie was a Norwegian mathematician who lived in the 19th century, wasn't it? Yeah. And so he was studying symmetries of differential equations, which show up in physics in many applications. And what we are more particularly interested in is algebraic aspects of this theory.
We spoke to David Wallace, the director of the institute here, and he was saying that mathematicians were characterised by the fact that there was no on or off time. You were always on, 24 hours a day when you were, washing. Your mind was kind of working in a mathematical way. Would you say that that's the case both for yourselves and for the people who come here?
Well, just ask our spouses. They can tell you. They'll talk to you and you say yes or no, and then they'll turn around and say, what did I just say? And you don't remember what it is. So yes, that's simply true. You just don't ever turn off. I mean, it lingers. It's always sort of in the back of your mind, and it works. And that's sort of a good thing, right? So we don't have to have a lab. Sometimes we use a computer, but we don't have to, be in a particular environment or be at a particular place to do our research. So very often we don't even need paper and pencil. It's just, you circle ideas around and you can do this in your head. And of course, you don't do this in the solitary confinement of your home very often or your office. You want to do this in a place like this. I mean, also when you look around here, almost every empty space is taken up by a board, by a blackboard, and you see them used every single day. There's people spending hours and hours in front of these boards and throwing ideas back and forth. It's a team, very much of a team effort.
I see.
Our business is really generating new ideas, and since we have, at any stage of any time, we have 20 experts from around the world who all contribute their ideas. It cascades in a sense, so you get a real critical mass happening, and that's the wonderful thing about a place like this.
Of course,
I see.
Of course, it would be naive to believe that there is no sport spirit among mathematicians. If you come across a great idea, you try first to think yourself, what can I make out of it? But very often, if it's really a good idea, it will have connections with other things, so it will even be extremely helpful and fruitful to discuss this with other people and make it maybe even bigger or better. Yeah? But I guess it also depends on individuals. There are people who are very prominent and they work for themselves. They are, powerful enough, or they have their particular way of thinking that it's difficult to easily communicate this with others. But I would say this is, maybe it's only 10 or 20% like this, and the large majority.
To put a number on this, but
What is the final theorem? Final theorem is that algebra is isomorphic to the convolutional algebra coming from the Hill perspective.
Just repeat.
So here we define some kind of whole algebra using the semi-stable things.
When we hear them and see them at the chalkboards having these discussions, and it's like another language, even if they're speaking English, we don't understand a word they're saying.
That it is isomorphic to the convolutional algebra of this.
This is a module of that.
Talking to people here, I sometimes get a sense of a vast and unreachable universe of numbers and connections that they relish exploring and find totally absorbing.
We do virtually everything for them. When they lock themselves out repeatedly at weekends, can't figure out how washing machines work, how the television works, how anything works like that. They get locked out of this building. They can't even find a stapler in their office on occasion.
Do you think there's a relationship between how clever and how abstract the maths is and how bad they are at getting a key into a door, tying their shoelaces?
It varies, yes. Well, from my experience, let's say, if they deal with more of the practical, applied sort of maths, if it has a sort of biological link, or in the computer science field or engineering or something like that, they do tend to have a more practical mind as well as a mathematical mind. But if they're what's known as pure mathematicians, they sometimes struggle to deal with day-to-day life, I've found.
My name is Reinhard Krispel, and I'm one of the organizers of the program on discrete integrable systems here at the Newton Institute.
My name is Frank Nijhoff. I'm also one of the organizers of the same program on discrete integrable systems.
But one of the striking differences between yourselves visually and the members of the algebraic Lie theory team is that you're much more casually dressed. Now, is this a difference between pure and slightly more applied mathematics, do you think?
Well, if I can speak for myself, I thought this would be on radio, so I didn't need to dress up. That's the main reason.
Because there is that joke or perception outside that mathematicians are working in this particular field do not have the social skills or the desire to be socially interactive with other people. They are obsessed with numeric theory.
Well, there are mathematicians like that, but I wouldn't say that we're all like that.
Obviously not. I mean, you're looking at two. You could pass for normal human beings quite easily. Is there a code of behaviour within this particular maths tribe here?
I would say no, really. The mathematical mind is a bit of a maverick in any respect. So we get a whole array of plumage of people that come here together, and that adds to the joy, actually, and the variety.
I think one of the interesting things about mathematics is that you have quite different personalities, from people in three-piece suits to people with long hair and without shoes, and accompanying lifestyle. But then the nice thing is, and I found this not just in this institute, but this is true also in the University of Cambridge more generally, and also to some extent in other universities, that this personality or this lifestyle doesn't matter, but you have this joint interest in mathematics. So that sort of does transcend the social barriers, if you like.
Part of the thing we do here is we do encourage them to mix socially. We actually give them a budget here, small budget each programme has, to do things socially. You know, we encourage them to go punting and arrange it for them if necessary. We encourage them to go walking around the colleges, have wine receptions, tea parties. We send
Take them out of themselves.
Learn to relax a bit. So we do try and encourage them to do it. Some groups it's easier than others.
And what do mathematicians do for fun, if you're thinking about maths 24 hours a day, in your own cases?
Fun? Well, I always like to think that, okay, I am a professional mathematician, but I was lucky enough to have my hobby as a profession.
Or maybe walking or little pastimes where you deliberately try to do something to get your brain off of your research mathematics.
Maybe this image that you are really switched on 24 hours, 7 days a week is a bit too exaggerated. We do take holidays, we do have weekends. But it is true, if you are in a completely different environment or you are on holidays, maybe every now and then some things are working somewhere in the back of your mind.
Well, often you see mathematicians walking around with pens, and they're kind of obsessed about that. So there's always, I wouldn't go out anywhere without pens or at least a little piece of paper.
It is the power and mystery of mathematics that unites and drives this international tribe of science beyond the rather mundane social and cultural niceties that the rest of us are bound by. They are waving, not drowning by numbers. Now, you poo-pooed the idea of that bell earlier being a call to a mathematical prayer of some kind, but it sounds like if you're talking about this special place that people come to, and it's open and contemplative, and you share. I mean, it does have an air of somewhere that is apart from the hurly-burly of real life.
Well, it's apart from a lot of hurly-burly, although it does get quite noisy. I mean, we don't have a workshop going on. When we have a workshop, in a couple of weeks' time, we'll have 150 people around in here, and it ain't contemplative then. It's a great melee.
I've been here from the beginning of the program in January, and time goes so very fast. It's like a little bit like when you congregate monks in one place, and
it's like a monastery.
Yeah, like a monastery basically, and for a little while, of course, with a finite duration. But you lose a bit sense of time actually when you're here.
The Tribes of Science was presented by Peter Curran. The producer was Anna Buckley.